What you're seeing on screen is a fighter jet built with the idea of cost-effectiveness in mind, and this choice shaped the aircraft to become the greatest Europe has ever produced. Unlike most fighters, the Typhoon was intentionally designed to be aerodynamically unstable. Combined with its digital flight control system and distinctive canard delta shape, that instability gives it extraordinary maneuverability. It's so agile that Eurofighters went toe-to-toe with the F-22 Raptor in a dogfight and even beat it. There are even German and RAF Typhoon pilots bragging how they scored against a Raptor in a WVR-simulated dogfight. It wasn't built by one nation reacting to a threat, it was built by a continent trying to create something far greater than the sum of its parts. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Eurofighter Typhoon. The story of the Eurofighter Typhoon doesn't start with one country. It begins with several European nations, each facing the exact same problem. During the late Cold War, the Royal Air Force needed a successor for the aging Sepicat Jaguar. Meanwhile, West Germany was looking for its own next-generation fighter to replace legacy airframes inside the Luftwaffe. Different nations, same need. By 1979, something became obvious. Europe was about to develop 3, maybe 4 separate fighters, all doing almost the same job. So Germany's aerospace company, MBB, and British Aerospace made a bold proposal. Instead of competing, why not collaborate? This early idea became known as the European Combat Fighter. Soon, France joined as well, bringing Dassault into the project. But the alliance didn't last. Each country wanted something different. France demanded a carrier-capable aircraft and insisted on leading the program. The UK preferred a pure air superiority fighter. Germany had its own priorities, and Italy would later join with yet another set of requirements. In the end, nobody could fully agree, and the collaboration quietly collapsed. But that wasn't the end. It was actually the beginning. Because in 1982, 3 of the original partners came back together: Britain, Germany, and Italy, to launch a radical private venture called the Agile Combat Aircraft. This wasn't just a paper project. This effort eventually evolved into a broader multinational program called the European Fighter Aircraft. 4 nations would develop a single European fighter optimized for air superiority. Europe gradually created one of the most advanced fighters of its generation, the Eurofighter Typhoon. What makes the Eurofighter Typhoon so maneuverable isn't just its engines or its controls. Its entire shape is designed to be unstable, and that design choice began on the very first drawing board. Normally, an aircraft is built with its center of gravity ahead of its center of lift. That makes it naturally want to fly straight, which is good for stability and safety. The Typhoon does the opposite. Its center of lift is moved forward, which makes the airplane want to pitch up by itself. That might sound like a problem, but it actually gives the pilot a very fast pitch response and lower drag during tight maneuvers. Instead of resisting the pilot, the aircraft reacts instantly to small movements of the controls. To make things even more interesting, the Typhoon uses close-coupled canards, placed right in the front of the wing. On a normal aircraft, the tail pushes downward to keep the jet level, but a canard produces lift instead. And since that lift comes from the front of the aircraft, it increases pitch instability. When the Typhoon flies at high angles of attack, the canards generate a powerful vortex that travels over the wing and increases lift even more. This gives the aircraft a very strong nose authority and exceptional control while turning aggressively. Then there's the delta wing. The Typhoon's highly swept delta doesn't just look futuristic, it brings a lot of aerodynamic behavior with it. A delta wing provides a huge amount of lift at high angles and gives strong control in tight turns. It also causes pitch-up tendencies, shifting aerodynamic centers, and a naturally unstable behavior at low speeds. Combined with forward lift and canards, this produces a layout that wants to maneuver almost more than it wants to fly straight. Even the stabilizing surfaces are part of this philosophy. The Typhoon's tail and fin are intentionally smaller than what a conventional aircraft would need. This reduces drag and increases responsiveness, but it also means the aircraft doesn't have much natural damping in pitch and relies more heavily on electronic control to keep itself pointed where it needs to go. The engines play a role too. The EJ200s are placed high and far back in the fuselage. When power increases, that position creates a slight pitch-up moment, which adds even more instability during high-power maneuvers. On most aircraft, that would be something designers would avoid. On Typhoon, it becomes an advantage in a dogfight. And all of this only works because of the fly-by-wire system. The Typhoon cannot be flown safely without computers. But here is the key point. The computers don't try to make the aircraft stable, they actively allow it to remain unstable. The flight control system makes thousands of tiny adjustments every second, constantly managing the aircraft right at the edge of controllability. The computers decide how unstable the jet should be based on what the pilot is trying to do. When the first test pilots began flying the aircraft, several of them reported the same thing. The Typhoon didn't just match expectations, it exceeded them. It could pull harder, react faster, and maneuver more aggressively than predicted. Many pilots said it felt like the aircraft wanted to fight with them instead of against them. The Eurofighter Typhoon was never designed to be stable. It was designed to be unstable in exactly the right way. And that deliberate instability became the core of its maneuverability, both in close-range combat and during high-speed supercruise flight. Since its first delivery in 2003, the Eurofighter Typhoon has grown from a new generation jet to one of the cornerstones of European and NATO air power. Its combat career officially began in 2011 over Libya, when Typhoons from the UK and Italy launched from southern Europe to enforce a no-fly zone and strike military targets as part of Operation Unified Protector. Within days, the Typhoon proved it could operate in real combat, carrying out both air superiority patrols and precision strike missions. But Libya was only the beginning. In the mid-2010s, Typhoons once again took action, this time over Iraq and Syria as part of the coalition effort under Operation Shader. From aerial refueling bases in the Middle East, these jets flew long-range strike and reconnaissance sorties, demonstrating the platform's true swing role capabilities, switching between air-to-air and air-to-ground roles as the mission demanded. In one notable mission, Typhoons of the Italian Air Force flew more than 8 hours continuously in an ISR sortie over Iraq, one of the longest operational flights for the type, underlining how matured sensors, avionics and onboard systems have made the Typhoon more than a dogfighter. What all of this adds up to is more than just a list of missions. The Typhoon has proven itself a versatile, reliable and combat-proven multi-role fighter, capable of adapting to new threats and missions across decades. From enforcing no-fly zones and precision strikes to long-range reconnaissance, air policing and fast reaction intercepts, it remains at the sharp end of European air power. That legacy means the Eurofighter Typhoon isn't just a Cold War design surviving into the 21st century. It's a living, evolving backbone of NATO and European defense. The Eurofighter Typhoon didn't begin as one nation's dream. It began as Europe's attempt to build something greater together. And it worked. Built around deliberate aerodynamic instability, the Typhoon embraced a design philosophy most aircraft avoid and turned it into raw maneuvering capability. And it proved that agility in the real world, not just on paper. From simulated fights where pilots claimed close-in victories against even the F-22 to real combat over Libya, Iraq and Syria, the Typhoon has grown from a futuristic air superiority fighter into a combat-proven, multi-role backbone of European defense. More than 20 years after entering service, it continues to evolve with new sensors, new weapons and new missions. Not a relic, but a frontline answer to modern air power challenges. Engineered by 4 nations, shaped by instability, and still flying at the sharp edge of NATO air power. This is the Eurofighter Typhoon. Until next time, fly high and stay curious.